Hello, welcome to Jason the Old Millennial. My name is Jason, speaking to here in my basement in the great state of Kansas. And I want to do a video catching up on some things I've watched recently that I haven't reviewed on the channel. Just catch up on some reviews here and try to get through them all here. And so, yeah, I'm just going to start right away. No intro or anything. Yeah, and some of these I saw a while ago and I haven't gotten around to talking about it. But I did watch September 5. And this was a movie that came out last year. Basically, might not came out here in the United States till or around here until this year. I'm not sure, but I finally caught around seeing that. And this was a movie that was on my radar because it was getting a lot of Oscar buzz. I think it ended up only getting like one Oscar nomination for Best Screenplay, but could have got a Best Picture nomination. I kind of wish it would because actually I like this movie like better than 9 of the 10 nominations. 9 of the 10 Best Picture nominations I thought were crap. I thought this movie was way better than those movies. So I kind of wish this would have got nominated for Best Picture. It would have been a better nomination than what we got out of Emilia Perez or something, you know. But anyways, yeah, this was an interesting movie about the Munich terrorist attack, the Munich Olympics terrorist attack, where the Iranian terrorists kidnapped some Israeli athletes at the Olympic Village anyways. And the whole movie is September 5. I guess it happened on September 5th. And we were seeing everything through the perspective of this news group that is there to, just show the Olympics, and talk about the different events and, record the news there. And then all of a sudden this whole big catastrophe happens right before their eyes and they're trying to figure out how to cover it, and what's the right way to do it. And, so it's a lot of people in, room, making phone calls and make decisions on how to get closer to the action without being in danger. And also, wanting the Israeli athletes to be safe at the same time, but yet wanting to cover it as news because that's their job. So it was an interesting perspective, I think, on this event. And if you don't know that, this real event that happened, I think in '72, I think the Munich Olympics was, and the terrorists wanted the Israeli government to release some prisoners, some Iranian prisoners or something like that. And this whole thing happened, of course, in Germany. Germany didn't really know how to deal with this because they were trying the military couldn't get involved because the military is not allowed to be involved in stuff inside the country or something. And so it was the Munich police. The Munich police were not equipped for like this kind of event. And they really didn't have that much security either because, they're still kind of reeling after the World War II, stuff that happened in Germany. And so they were like, didn't want too much police presence or something. Anyway, so in the end, the terrorists I'm spoiling real life events, but terrorists take them to an airport. They're going to put them on an airplane and they're going to like go back to Iran or something. And they're going to get ambushed by the police. The Munich police had kind of orchestrated an ambush, but it didn't work out as well as they wanted. And all of the hostages got killed. So it happened very tragically and sadly, So we're getting through the perspective of all these news people, and overall the movie is so well paced. I mean, it's one of the best well paced movies where it's like not a dull moment. It's just something happening all the time. Like I said, we're making a phone call here. We're showing footage here. We're having conversations about what this is going on here. And I think overall the performances, the only real main actor is major actor is Peter Sarsgaard is probably the most well-known actor here. But I thought everybody did a really good job acting-wise. I thought, yeah, again, I see why it got nominated for Best Screenplay. I think the script was really good. It was a really tight script, really well edited, really good editing. Like I said, it seemed like there's always stuff going on. And, and you're watching it going, oh man, I know what's going to happen. And so you're wondering how it's going to affect the characters and stuff like that, the tragic moments of this whole event anyway. So it's all very interesting. The only problem I have and why I'm not going to give it a huge high score is that it ends on such a sad note and the movie just kind of ends. And it's like, oh gosh. But what can you do? It's a sad moment in history. So it's hard to make a movie when a movie, you want some kind of satisfied ending where you feel some happiness, even if it's a sad event. Like, even if it's a Titanic, at least you have like a nice love story and some people survive, and and all this. But this is just like, wow, it just ends really bad. And so it's like, no matter how good they did, it can never be, for me, this story can never be a good movie just because it ends so sadly and there's nowhere to take it after that. Anyway, so overall, I thought a really solid movie. I'm gonna give it 3 out of 5 stars just because the ending, it wasn't very satisfying to me. But as far as, yeah, I think if you can catch this movie, I think it's actually a really good movie to see, I think, because I thought it had some interesting historical moments in it. Anyway, so yeah, that's September 5. Another movie I caught was Last Breath. It's a movie that came out this year, based on a true story, another true story event that I didn't know about, but a real person. They're doing this deep sea diving, and there's bad weather, and he accidentally gets his oxygen tubing and the kind of the cord that helps him get back to the ship gets severed, and so he's lying on the bottom of this ocean floor with and he has backup oxygen, but that only lasts for like 5 minutes. And so everybody else is trying to figure out how to save this one deep sea diver, and through this really terrible situation. And so, yeah, another interesting movie about something I didn't know anything about, deep sea diving. Like, yeah, I will never be a deep sea diver. It looks terrible. It looks like a horrible job. I can't. I'm so claustrophobic that it's like I would feel so claustrophobic wearing one of those outfits and being underwater. It's just like, man, with if anything goes wrong, you're dead. I mean, it just seems like it's a very dangerous job. Uh, but yeah, I thought overall it was a very interesting true story. That the fact that it happened is just crazy. That this guy literally lays on the bottom of this like ocean floor with no oxygen for like 40 minutes and survives. And you're thinking, how do you survive 40 minutes with no oxygen? And it's like none of the scientists could figure it out. At the end of the movie, they're like, none of the scientists know how it happened. And they only figure that because he was down in the ocean, it's very cold, evidently down. You have like warm water coming through or you have to have something heating up your suit, I think, or you freeze to death down there. So because of the coldness or something like that, and because of of course, obviously the further you go down, the more water depth or water pressure you get. That's why you have to wear these big metal suits so the water pressure doesn't crush you. And so something to do with the water pressure and the coldness uh, maybe lowered his heart rate or lowered his breathing, that he was able to survive with no brain damage 40 minutes, like with no oxygen. It's just insane. I think anytime scientists can't explain it, I go, it's got to be an act of God. I mean, God must have been there to save this guy and keep him alive. That's the only explanation I have for it. But overall, I think it was interesting because it really gives you a lot of, like, I knew nothing about deep sea diving. Now I know a little more, like, and it's like, wow, this is what they have to go through. It's crazy. So it was interesting how we had to go through how, you kind of learn about, there's this job, people do this deep sea diving where or they go down and they have to fix something down the ocean, basically what it is. There's something down, and yeah, anyways, that's a best way to explain it. But anyways, the fact that this is a job that exists and people do it, it's just crazy. And just to see how the process was kind of interesting, I think, overall. Woody Harrelson's in this movie. He's probably the major actor in here. And Simu Liu is also in here as well. Probably two main guys that you would know. My favorite part of the movie, though, really is like on top on the ship. There's like this, guy that's like he's overseeing everything that's happening. He's kind of the boss. But then you also have a captain of the ship, and he's in charge of the ship itself. And they're in this really bad weather, this really stormy weather, and so they're in danger as well. But I love the when they're like, okay, we got to save this guy, so give me ideas, and then they come up with ideas like, okay, let's go do this, let's go do this, and they have to constantly problem solve in order to save this guy. And I love that. I love movies where there's a lot of problem solving, where characters like, oh, here's a catastrophe, here's emergency situation, we got to think on our feet really quickly in order to save this person. Like Apollo 13 is my favorite example of that. So that was probably my favorite part of the movie, is just the fact that they had to come up with all these ideas to save this guy, and they actually did it, which is really cool. And it's a really cool moment when they do save him. My only I guess, criticism of the movie. It just feels like this is a movie that's been done many times before. I feel like we've had a lot of these kind of movies where like someone gets trapped in a cave and we have to save them. Miners get trapped and, whatever. We've had these true stories turned to movies where people are trapped and we have to save them, so it's nothing new to that. Um, and, as far as like deep sea diving, it's not the most exciting thing to watch, but overall, I think it's a solid movie. I'm still going to give it about 3.5 stars. Um, just say it was a recommendable movie. I definitely think it's not one I would rush out to see, but it's definitely one that if you come across it, it's not a bad watch. So that's The Last Breath. All right, another movie I saw is The Gorge, which it came out on Apple Plus a couple months ago, maybe a month or so ago. Uh, every year, there's always an Apple Plus movie that I really like. That's one of my favorite of the year, and this might be my one for this year. 2 years ago, and I can't remember the name of the movie. There's 2 years ago, there was that movie with I can't remember who was in it anymore, but it was this action, comedy, whatever. And then last year it was Wolves with George Clooney and Brad Pitt. I really love that movie. I thought that was one of the best movies of last year. Yeah, The Gorge I thought was really good. Actually, it's my favorite movie so far I've seen this year. It's a sci-fi action movie with kind of a mystery behind it. I like that kind of movie. Yeah, Miles Teller I know is the main actor. And the main actress, I didn't write any notes for this. I'm just kind of going off my head, but I'm sure someone out there will write in their comments. Um, is Anna de Armas or something? I can't remember. No, is it Anna Joe? It's one of those young actresses that's really popular. Anyways, but there are two snipers on. They have to stay in this tower on opposite towers, and there's a gorge in between them. And their two countries, whatever, they're watching this gorge because there's these like zombie like creatures that live in this gorge, I guess, and we're trying to protect it from these monsters coming out. So we got these two snipers watching and make sure to kill anything that tries to come out of this gorge. It's too dangerous to go into, so we just have snipers watch it. Anyways, but we find out more and more in the movie that there's something bigger going on here. There's some kind of, mystery. The government's hiding something kind of thing. And I kind of like that, actually. I think that was one of my favorite parts of the movie. It's like there's a moment when they accidentally go into the gorge. And to me, that's the best moment because it's very thrilling. It's like, oh no, what's down here? There's all these there's trees that are trying to kill you. Like everything's trying to kill you down in this. There's all these mutations and stuff like that, like these mutated monster kind of things. And so it's like, okay, they got to get out of here because they're not going to survive down here for very long. But then they come across like a computer and they find out some information, like the government's actually created the gorge kind of thing, and then they created these monsters, and so the government's behind it kind of thing. So I kind of really like that, the whole aspect of like, oh, there's a mystery behind this whole gorge thing. It's not just a reason to have monsters, whatever, these mysterious monsters in it. And yeah, the whole scene I thought was great. And that's kind of towards the second half of the movie. I'm kind of spoiling part of the movie, but I have to say that's like the most exciting part of the movie, of course, is they have to fight their way out of the gorge. But for the first half of the movie, they're just, they're kind of fall in love. It's a whole thing where, this guy and this girl, they're attractive. They're start talking to each other through writing. And eventually he finds a way to get over there because she's hot. So it's her birthday and she's sad. So he goes over there and sleeps with her. Anyways, so that's actually interesting. The whole idea of like living. In fact, I was watching it going, gosh, I would love to live in a tower by myself for a year, and not have to go to my job and not, have to deal with life stresses. I suppose there's stresses in that job, but to me, it felt like, that's a pretty easy job. You just say, only thing is you don't have like internet or something, so that would suck. But yeah, overall, I thought The Gorge was a really good sci-fi action movie. Again, I'm giving it 4 out of 5 stars. I thought it kept me on my toes. I was really into the story and the action scenes and all that anyway. So I feel like this movie's getting some, I don't know if it's been talked about that much. I feel like it's gotten some bad and good reviews. I don't know. I'm part of that where I go, yeah, definitely check this out if you ever get a chance to check out The Gorge. It is on Apple Plus, so it might not be as readily available. All right, I think it's the movies that I've watched recently that I can remember. The other thing I want to talk about is a documentary series that I watched on Max that I really liked, and it's called Game Changers. And yeah, I came across this. I think this just came out this year, anyways. This documentary series about, I don't know if there's 8 episodes, maybe something like that. And also, it deals with video games. And if you know me, I love watching documentaries. I especially like sports documentaries. I love wrestling documentaries. Recently, I've been watching a lot of wrestling documentaries because WrestleMania is coming around. Also, video game documentaries. I can't. If there's a video game documentary, I watch it. Like I can't, pass away. I can't pass by a good video game documentary. Anyways, and this was a really cool series where they touch on different video game series, basically for the most part, and they talk to the people that invented the video game or the CEOs of the company or whatever, and they really get into, yeah, like how it all started, how it grew to be a big deal, and they got talk to historians. Really good series if you like video games. Like the first episode, they touch on Nintendo, how Nintendo got started. Later on, they touch on Sega Genesis. And they talk about the kind of the Sega Genesis, because Sega Genesis really kind of came and went, while Nintendo has been like the biggest company in video games for a long time, for 40 years or something. They talk about the Atari, I think, in there as well, if I remember right, and how the Atari got started. So they touch on video game consoles, but they also talk about some video games like there's one on Madden, which I thought was so fascinating. I never thought about the history of Madden, but how that all got, Madden, NFL, football, video games are the most popular football video games out there. I mean, and so it was really interesting to see how it all started, and how the graphics were really bad at the beginning because they're on like very, Nintendo like, 8-bit graphics, and how that just really got better with each console. So that was, and how Madden, and it was interesting how they got John Madden involved and how he had ideas. And so they implemented some of his ideas. That was very fascinating. Another one I really liked was Call of Duty, which is one of my favorite video game series. I think the best first person shooter game, in my opinion. But yeah, how it kind of started with Medal of Honor, I think, and how it kind of changed. It was a very fascinating history. Steven Spielberg got involved, of course, because he did Saving Private Ryan. And it's funny, Spielberg kind of got involved in wanting to help out with the video game. So he's kind of, I didn't know how he had involvement with Call of Duty. Also, I'm going to forget his name, but the guy who does a lot of the training for war movies, they had him, they interviewed him and had him talk about his involvement to try to make, and he gave, ideas on how to make the video game better and more, more accurate to, what war is like. And it's interesting how those little perspectives help these video game designers design a game that was different from any other game that was made at the time. But it's funny, this guy, I'm forgetting his name, but you probably know him. He was in well, he trained people for like Saving Private Ryan. He trained all the actors for that. What's it called? Band of Brothers. He's in Band of Brothers actually, and he was the one who trained all the soldiers for that, for Band of Brothers. But he's like the main guy you go to train for war movies and more war TV shows. And he was hilarious because he called all these video game designers pencil geeks. He's like, all these pencil geeks know nothing about war, And so he took them out and like taught them how to shoot and taught them like, different stuff. And he's like, I love torturing those pencil geeks. It's like, man, what a jerk, Anyways, but yeah, so that was a really good series as well. There's one episode where they touch on Monopoly, which is kind of interesting. It's not a video game, but they also touch on a couple other board games as well. So that was interesting, kind of going away from video games and talking about board games and the history of like Monopoly and stuff like that. So overall, man, it was a really cool series. I was glad I love video game history. So getting more information on video game history was a lot of fun. So I say, if you like video games, man, Game Changers was a great documentary series on Max. Definitely check that out if you're able to. Again, that's more of a streaming series. But so that's what I've been watching lately and what I want to talk about. So mostly recommends there. Nothing. Actually, I think they're all recommendable movies and documentary series. Anyway, so yeah, definitely check a lot of these 4 items out that I talked about. Besides that, if you've seen it, tell me what you thought. Let me know if you liked it or not. Anyways, besides that, thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you for liking it. Thank you to all my subscribers for supporting the channel. I appreciate y'all. Hope you have a good week.